Hey, everybody in
Right.
chat. Looks like there's 2 people.
Hello.
Wait, is there 8 people in there or 2 people? How's that work?
There's a handful on YouTube and on Twitch.
Okay.
Say hello.
Hello, guys. Say hello to chat, guys.
Hello to chat, guys.
Hola.
Wait, my account in PayPal's temporarily locked because of a login from Uganda.
Better hit that link.
I gotta hit this link and fix this real quick.
And if they ask you for personal information, just don't hold back.
Just give them whatever they ask for.
I have to avoid a permanent lock, which is things that they do.
Yes, because they'll never want you to buy anything from Amazon ever again.
We don't want your money anymore.
Yeah, we're just warming you guys up. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Appreciate
It's
it.
coming to Nauticon.
Yeah, Ian wants to know how many of you in chat are coming to Nauticon.
They can hear me after.
Oh, they can hear you? Okay.
Steve and Jay can. Or not Steve and Jay, Steve and Bob.
Testing.
All right. I don't think any of them are going to Nauticon.
Oh, nobody. No, there's a delay. It's like
The sad thing is people fall for that shit every single day.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Not a huge percentage has to fall for it in order for
Even 1%.
Yeah, it makes it worth it.
because you can send it to so many people.
All right, you guys want to start?
Yeah.
All right. So
we
we
just ping the Discord real quick.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You can talk to chat.
All right,
I'm gonna just
Ian's
ping
gonna
the
ping the
Discord.
Discord real quick. We're gonna start with we are gonna talk about the entire season of Picard.
I think we'll have a focus on the last half.
whatever. We are gonna judge and rate the entire season as a whole, though.
Of John Luck Pickard.
John Picard. That's a good episode. Tapestry.
You said that this guy says he has no sound.
Everyone could hear us, right?
Yeah, they can all hear.
Okay.
Most people said that they could hear.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of talking about Nauticon behind the scenes because we actually have
You have a lot of cool ideas.
well, we have more ideas than we can do at the conference because it's only 2 days, and we've now come up with about 30 ideas. Right? They're fun. We got a couple of really good
But
ones.
that means we get to use the best ones.
One of them is such a fun and cool idea that I actually have to ask the hotel if it's okay.
Which one is that?
Want me to say it?
Well, you can give it
False fire.
the gist. Which one?
The cooking one.
Oh,
Explosions.
the cooking one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's you could take the cooking one. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Cooking.
Yeah, that involves heat, and stuff.
Yeah,
so
they
we
might
don't
not
know
like
if
it.
that'll work.
The hotel also says you can't bring your own food into the rooms, but it would be a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Does that mean we can't eat it?
Well, we're gonna bend rules if we do it. No matter what their
Yeah.
rules are, we'll bend some.
Yeah, that one might not happen. Logistics.
All right.
All right,
Ian,
ready?
what do you think?
We're good to go. You got the clacker?
Bob, can you get the clacker to your right?
No.
Come on. Okay. Can't edit this goddamn show without it.
I'm going to turn off the denoiser real quick.
All right. Thank you, Ian.
So you can do a clack. Hold on. Stand by. Let me set everything to record. That's recording. That one is not freaking recording because it's broken. Hold on.
We are holding.
Clack.
Beep boop. Stand by.
I like your haircut, Steve.
Thank you.
What? No.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah, do the clack.
Clacked. Real quick. Hold on.
Sip, sip, sip.
Okay.
We're good.
We are good. You can start whenever you like.
Hold on.
Hold on. Hold on.
Start,
Steve,
says that.
Ian says hello. Hold on.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, now you can go. All right, wait. All right, no, just kidding. Go ahead.
We're good.
Okay.
Hi, this is Steve.
This is Bob.
This is Jay.
We are Alpha Quadrant 6, a science fiction review show. And on this episode, we are going to wrap up the season finale of Picard.
Season 3.
Yeah, but it's the season.
It is. It's the
Series
The
finale.
series finale.
Yes, the series is over. It's kaput. It has ended. It will never be again.
Supposedly.
So
Yes.
I we reviewed this part of the way through. I was pretty down on the first half of season 3. I thought the writing was lazy and melodramatic and not really true to itself. It definitely got better in the second half. The second half of this season was really completely different in a lot of ways. My biggest complaint of this season is that they went for some cheap drama. They really could have. There were times when they did things just because it was dramatic, even when it didn't really make sense for the characters or the plot or the situation or Starfleet or the backstory or anything else.
Yeah,
it was just drama.
I agree. Yeah, we mentioned those last time. But as a whole, when I look at the season as a whole, my number one comment is if you are a fan of Star Trek: The Next Generation, you will absolutely enjoy this season. I think
you have to see it. If you love Next Gen, you have to see this. Yeah. This is a wonderful send-off for the crew and the series, and they did such a great job. I'm so happy with it. Even a couple of roadblocks earlier on weren't devastating, and I still enjoyed the first half. There was a couple things that were annoying, but from like episodes 5, 6, 7, all the way to the end, each episode was really good, and the ending was fantastic. It
was good fan service.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of it was gratuitous, but you had to sort of just accept that. There's going to be some gratuitous fan service. But as fan service, it was successful. It was good. We got to see the characters. They got the band back together. Everything, was good. And they were funny, and it was exciting. And there was actually a point. Are we doing spoilers yet? There's actually a point where, you don't know if they're going to survive or not. Yeah. You could have gone either way.
Oh, yeah.
And I almost was I thought it would have been really brave if they killed everybody before the
But that wouldn't have sat well.
No.
I don't know.
There was no reason to kill them all because
good writing, good story.
Yeah, but the story itself wasn't lending itself to that.
I thought it was. That's the point. There was a point at which they needed to sacrifice themselves to save the galaxy. And they got to have their cake and eat it too. And in a way, that's cheesy. I think it would have been more poignant if they just said, we got to take this one final hit for the team, and they did it. And then that was the send-off. You know what I mean? That would have been brave, and they could have made that work.
That could have been fine.
Now they just fade into the sunset. Okay.
That could have been fine, but I think that happy feeling that I had at the end of this would not have been the same.
It would have been a more complicated emotion.
I know, but it was just a beautiful, wonderful way to end it. And, who knows? Maybe we'll see, spoilers? We're spoilers, right?
Yeah, spoilers.
Maybe we'll see human Data in some other series. Who knows? Or Worf. How about a series with Worf? Like he's David Carradine in Kung Fu. Going through the Federation. Worf's arc was wonderful. My favorite arc. His and Data's, of course, was great. But Worf had a fantastic arc, like the Zen warrior who's embracing, peace and battle. I mean, he was
and
fantastic and hilarious.
Yeah,
he was one of the funniest one-liners as usual.
I totally agree.
He was great.
And
Data.
They did a good job of evolving the characters. I really felt like they did. They wrote that part very well. There were some parts of the season that were kind of clunky that I felt like were almost too Star Trek techno-babbly. One comment that I was thinking about, it was my comment.
You were thinking about your own comment that you made to yourself.
Internally, I made to myself. What I said to myself was, I would love to see a version of Star Trek that does what Andor did to Star Wars. Dirty, gritty.
One notch more gritty,
Yeah, but I always feel like with Star Trek that things are a little like techno-babbly. They make a lot of excuses for stuff that it's not written well enough where they could be like, okay, we're going to write this story and we don't have to throw techno-babble out there. It's not necessary. We don't have to pull a magic trick to make the plot happen. Just make the frickin' plot happen and do it write it really well. This series had Picard in general had a lot of those Star Trek gimmies.
Yeah.
Which I don't enjoy in any version of Star Trek.
It's lazy writing. So, I mean, the Star Trek, the original series, set up a certain set of technologies. We have warp drive, we have shields and phasers and tractor beams and the transporter.
Yes.
Those are the big gimmies.
There was a homeostasis there in terms of the technology. You knew the transporter was finicky and short range, and there was lots of situations which it wouldn't work. And Kirk is about to die. Like, come on, Scotty, get me out of here. Like, there was good drama. I actually really liked Star Trek Enterprise when it was even more primitive, because then the stakes are higher and they don't have the magic technology to always save the day. And I do think one of the wrong directions that later Star Trek, episodes and series and movies and everything went in was just throwing in randomly advanced technology. The transporter is sort of the biggest one that, we've ranted already about interplanetary transporting, which is absolute nonsense. And they did it again here with
they did.
With the portable transporter. Yes, they did.
Bob, just because they did it before doesn't mean that it was written well when they first came up with it. You shouldn't be able to shoot
a transporter beam at somebody.
Yeah,
I mean,
come on.
It's not a transporter beam. It's a like an emitter. An emitter.
Whatever.
It's no good.
It's like a badge.
It's bad.
That gets you beamed up.
Okay. How about this?
You cannot compare that to interplanetary beaming.
But here's the problem. You're right.
And there's precedent. It was a next gen.
But here is the problem with that.
Precedent.
Why would you ever use a phaser again? Just transport everyone away.
Yeah.
Then they're out. Then they're gone. You don't have to kill them. You just get rid of them.
No, you just stun them. You knock them out.
But the point is...
Oh, man, you're making a big deal of this.
It isn't.
No, but that is the lazy writing. Don't do it. It's a cheap...
Transport everybody to the brig. I also don't
thought it was a cool idea.
I don't like the intra-ship beaming either.
Oh, man. Kirk did that back in 2316.4. I mean, come on. 22 something.
The problem is, though, you have to, Bob, you have to understand the problem. The problem is that they write themselves into a freaking corner.
Of course I do, and that's exactly what the interplanetary beaming was. These little tweaks to beaming is minor.
Same thing.
Minor.
It's not minor.
Compared to interplanetary beaming?
Yeah, but I don't care. That's a bad bar to set. That's the whole point. Just because it's not as bad as the worst possible abuse doesn't mean it's okay. The thing is,
that's what you compared it to.
The transporter itself is a problem. It is a plot problem. But they had it contained on the original series because it was just good enough to keep the action going.
I agree.
But it was finicky and you know what I mean? And that was fine.
Yeah, now
they should have kept it there. They really should have kept it as this very difficult, very finicky technology. And once you let loose that genie out of the bottle, that transporters can do anything, the implications are massive.
What's the worst case scenario? Oh, I beam you away. A big deal. If they want to, they can stun them. They don't need to beam them away.
It's not good writing, though. That's the point. Is they get themselves to a situation where the transporters can do so much,
they can do
and solve so many problems that when they don't use it. Stop. Let me finish. When they don't use the transporter as the solution, then you're like, what the hell? I thought you could do this with the transporter. You can't do that. This is storytelling.
You got to pick your battles. That's not a good battle.
Well, anyway, in and of itself, it's not that big a deal. But I'm just saying it's a symptom of a trend within the Star Trek franchise.
I don't disagree with that.
Of throwing in advanced technology without thinking of the implications, and they really need to be going the other way and thinking of ways to really rein in these technologies to make sure that they are not, constantly writing themselves into corners. Because that's just another symptom of lazy writing. So I do think that's getting back to some positive stuff. This is a great season overall.
Yes, it was.
It was a good. I agree. It was a good series ender. It was a good Star Trek: The Next Gen.
It was the only good season for Picard.
They kind of erased season 2 almost in this season, which is fine because season 2 was terrible.
I mean, just in terms of a Star Trek season, not just Picard or Next.
Yeah, it was a good Star Trek season.
It was wonderful.
It was great.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Hey, listen. As a fan of The Next Gen, having them be able to coordinate getting all of these characters back together, it didn't feel that forced. It was good. I felt really good when they were together. It felt awesome. It felt like old Star Trek.
Yeah, it was a little contrived, but you could give it.
But and it took a while. I remember complaining that, I was thinking, where's Data? Where's Geordi? Where are these other...
It did take
a
while.
We were promised a reunion, but you get over that. I got over that very fast because once they came, it was more organic and it made more sense, and it was great seeing the gang together. But don't forget one of the biggest characters that came back, Enterprise D.
Yeah.
That was
amazing.
At first I was like, I don't need to see the Enterprise D. It's not my favorite ship. I don't think it's the most beautiful ship around. But when it came back, it was a stunning moment. And that ship was beautiful. First off, the bridge. 50 people for 3 months worked on that bridge. There was no blueprint. You would think they go to the Star Trek warehouse. Here's the blueprint. No, they had no blueprint.
Wow.
Most of it was from scratch. Absolutely from scratch.
Yeah.
They had pictures, and they're like trying to make sure it was identical.
A lot of video evidence to go by.
Imagine 50 guys for 3 months worked on that, and then there's the digital model of the entire ship, the most detailed model that I think has ever been created. If next time you watch it, look at the windows on the ship. You feel like you could look through the glass and into the ship.
Yeah.
Whereas on any other ship you'll look at, it's just like
white.
white. It was beautiful. They did things like they did a close camera flyby right by the outside of the primary hull by the bridge. You couldn't even do that with a model.
Yeah,
even
that's
a
right.
model, you couldn't have done that.
Even their best model, they never would have been able
work,
to do it.
amazing work, and hopefully this bridge set will be around for decades.
Well, so the Star Trek Museum, which is in upstate New York, is building and damn near
they're building
close to finishing
a D bridge.
The Enterprise D bridge. They
good for
bought
them.
another building right next
Yeah.
to the one, and they have another museum now.
I wonder what plans they're using. I wonder how they're
That's
doing
what
it.
I was. As soon as you just said what
Yeah.
you said, I'm like, well, I wonder where.
They might be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a lot harder because for the classic bridge and ship, I think they had like the blueprints essentially for all intents and purposes.
They had the basic blueprint for the entire set of Star Trek, the original
everything.
series, but they didn't have down to the minutia. Like I don't think they had measurements for every jig and jag. I think they had to.
Yeah.
They had to finesse a lot of that, and also props and all that. There wasn't like a prop list or anything. Like, like one quick example. They were able to find the same comb that Captain Kirk was using on the original series. When he had that.
Comb is toupee? What?
Yeah,
What
well,
comb?
they had some comb that was on the set, and James Cawley, who owns the museum,
Yeah.
like he found it. They sourced it. They figured out what it was.
What
They
kind
went-
of comb are you talking
It was just one prop that was probably in one episode, but that's what they have
Yeah.
to do. They have to go, what is that? Okay, let's zoom in. Let's take
Yeah.
screenshots. Let's figure it out. Then they go back and they
Yeah.
find out what
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, is it made from scratch, totally from scratch, or is it based on a product that you could have bought
They-
and then
they got
enhanced?
that-
This is a huge tangent.
Yeah,
let's,
right.
let's talk about
Right.
this. Let's talk about if there's going to be a spin-off
Can't help myself.
Okay.
from this series. So
Well-
clearly they set the stage
Of course.
for an Enterprise G,
Star Trek
7
Legacy
of 9,
series.
Raffi, Jack Crusher series.
It has a name, Star Trek Legacy.
Star Trek
it's
Legacy.
Even a name for it.
Yeah. It hasn't been announced or greenlit or anything as far as we know. It's just purely speculation. I think the fans want the series to happen.
Sure, of course we do.
And we're kind of at the point where we were, remember,
Yes,
way
Discovery.
back when we were talking, wouldn't it be awesome if there was a Pike spinoff? And then it happened like 2 years later.
But
We're kind of at that same phase.
the difference is
yeah.
they've already built the sets.
Mm-hmm.
They have the Enterprise. Now it's the Enterprise. They have that set because
Yeah.
they just shot a season of it. I
Yeah.
doubt that it's destroyed. You'd think they'd be like, we could move on this very quickly.
They're teed up for it already.
Here's my take. I think Paramount. I don't think they're going to do it because we've got Strange New Worlds. It's the Enterprise. It's the crew. It's kind of the format that we love, but we already kind of have that. So I think they may be like, we got that. Maybe we'll wait. But I hope that they do take it. And if they do take it, they need it to be a different angle. Do something very different in terms of like what happens regularly on the show, and don't make it a clone of Strange New Worlds. I think they could do something really special if they do something a little bit different with it.
Strange New Worlds is a prequel, first of all.
Yes.
So this would be
Breaking new ground.
territory, even though Discovery went even farther into the future.
Yeah,
we have no idea what really happens in this time period, so they could really do anything.
That is the biggest bonus because everything is wide open.
Yeah.
Because Strange New Worlds is hamstrung. They're in a straitjacket. They could only veer off a little bit. They can't do anything too dramatic because we would have known
but
about it.
this is what we want,
That's
though.
a big bonus to
This-
Star Trek Legacy.
This is what we want for Strange New Worlds. We want old school Star Trek beam down missions.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that's what they're doing.
Planet of the
right?
Week.
It doesn't matter. Like they can't screw anything up. All they got to do is go to a different planet, meet some different
Right.
aliens.
It's actually a
solve some
good
problems.
thing that they can't do. They're
Yeah.
a little bit in a box, so they won't do the
But-
crazy saving the galaxy stuff.
That's why Star Trek. The potential of Star Trek Legacy, though, is it could write the future of the franchise.
New aliens, new dramatic, hugely dramatic things happening to the Federation.
Yeah.
I want that for sure. I don't want to go back in the past more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love Strange New Worlds.
They would be able to show us
for
things,
7 years.
Like, it would be cool to learn more about Starfleet, to learn more about Earth.
A little bit of more world building.
Yeah, world building.
Yeah,
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so
Absolutely.
getting back to Picard.
Mm-hmm.
all right.
I admit I became weepy a couple of times during that, especially the last couple of episodes. You know, it was amazing when they got back on Enterprise D.
Oh my God.
It was amazing to see all of them, you know, enjoying each other again. You know, like it felt like I was watching the TV show again.
Yeah.
And it reminded me
And
of
that's the whole point.
It is, of course, and that's
It's
the fan service.
nostalgia-based TV.
So it reminded me of something I completely forgot about all of us watching those Star Trek Next Generation episodes together. Every week we would get together at our house and watch that show together.
Yeah.
And we don't watch TV with people anymore.
Because it's not scheduled.
Right, because
It's not an
That's
event.
right.
It's not an event.
the world
yeah.
has changed. And I was sitting there watching this show by myself, and I'm like, the last time I felt the vibe of this show,
you're right.
I
We
was
should've-
with my friends and family.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it you know, I missed that.
That's a
I
good
missed
point,
that
yeah.
those
But we
days.
could make it happen artificially. Just it's not
Make it
like,
so.
Yeah, but Steve, Americans are too busy.
Yeah, I
we
know.
don't have free time like the rest of the world does. We fucking right. It's the truth.
Well, let's watch the first episode of season 2 of Strange New Worlds.
Together.
June
All right,
15th.
I'll
Let's
do
get
that with
together.
you
That's the
guys.
first one.
Yeah.
We should start a podcast where we talk about it afterwards.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Be cool.
We'll talk about that.
All right. So I guess we're giving a thumbs up to.
Yeah, no, it's a thumbs up. If you enjoy
Picard
Next
season
Gen,
3.
you'll love it. You'll love it. You
Yeah.
can't help it. All the actors are great. They were totally acting exactly the way those characters should have been. Right? They none of the
Yeah.
actors forgot how to play those characters. Nothing was
That really
awkward
kind of
about
pissed me off a little bit.
I mean,
She was
they-
kind of like, really? You
they
didn't
did-
tell Picard about his son?
Oh, that didn't make
What's
any
that
sense.
About?
That didn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
Well, she made up for it though when she was attacking the Borg
Yeah.
mega cube.
Yeah.
that was a great scene where she like took manual control
And
and
how
everyone
cool is it-
stares at her.
They destroyed the Borg.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
group of people
Locutus.
who
Yeah.
introduced us to the Borg got to destroy the Borg. That was
Right.
it was an epic.
Janeway helped, but yes, I agree.
But I love it when a brand has the balls to end something.
Turn the page.
To
Yes.
end something.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
the
the
Borg
Borg
are
aren't
no
totally
more.
gone, but yeah, I see
Yeah,
what
but
you
you know
mean.
what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The traditional evil
Right.
Borg are gone, and that's good.
Speaking of that, though, there actually has been some discussion online of whether or not the Star Trek franchise should end.
What?
And
Oh yeah. So let me tell you. So
yeah.
I was
How is
watching
that a
YouTube
thing?
videos. You know, I was very sentimental after the show ended,
Yeah.
and I wanted to hear people talking about the show. Right. So I'm going. I'm watching YouTube videos, listening to reviews, and this one guy literally said, you know, we've
I
got.
hate that guy.
So what is it? I can't remember what he said. I think he said something like, "We've had 40 years of Star Trek, right?
Mm-hmm.
It gave us, you know, basically what Star Trek can deliver, and it's time to end the brand. That's it. We don't need any more. We don't need any more TV shows. Like, it's over. That's it." And I remember sitting there going, "Hold on a second. Wait a second. We have a couple of science fiction brands. Were so good and so powerful, Star Trek and Star Wars. They're completely freaking different from each other.
Completely different.
And they're so good that we literally have a universe to explore in each one of them. And Star Wars is doing it. Star Wars, like with Andor and
Andor is like one of the best Star Wars, things ever.
Ever.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
Mandalorian. I mean, there's so much
Again,
there. So I
Grogu.
I agree that Star Trek needs their Andor. It needs their Mandalorian. I mean, I think Strange New Worlds is part of that. I would like to. The thing is, listen, it's a fantastic franchise. There's been a lot of duds in the franchise, just like with Star Wars.
Yeah.
A lot of bad decisions, bad ideas. Just trying to redo things. They need to get good writers to get in there to iterate the franchise, to do some world expansion. It's a good formula. Starfleet and everything is a great formula for science fiction storytelling in the future. Just add the good writing that we need without breaking it.
The thing about Star Trek over Star Wars is that Star Trek analyzes the human condition like I would dare say like no other science fiction story ever.
There are elements to the franchise that are fantastic, like the competency porn, which not a lot of science fiction does it that way, without being too hokey. Like they don't have the I'm a complete nerd and I'm going to do the nerd thing. Kind of competency stuff. It's people who are disciplined, who are competent, who who work really hard,
and they have relationships with each other.
And they work well together, and they follow the rules, but they know exactly when to bend them, and it's it's a good it's a good world to operate in, and there's a lot of dangers out there. There's a lot of things more powerful than Starfleet. There's a lot of troublemaking to happen out there. The possibilities are endless, but you need writers who know Star Trek, who can appreciate what's good about it, who know how to iterate it, to tell a new story in the Star Trek universe while being true to Star Trek. That formula exists out there. That's what they need to find.
Oh, and we're seeing it happen in other brands.
Yeah, we're seeing it happen.
So it's possible. I think this was a special thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to happen again. There will the next generation is over. It's finally completely over. That's the last thing we'll see from them. I'm sure. It really felt like that, right?
And that's a good thing. That's turn the page. Come give us new characters and new situations, and as you say, do something different. And I have to say, like Star Trek: The Lower Decks. I've been really enjoying this last season.
God.
It's so good.
Fantastic.
And because it's sort of a different view of things, it's obviously there's more humorous, but although I still think they should have kept true to the premise more, and really had to be the view from the lower decks and not so much, be inside with the bridge crew, but still it's fine. And it's still that's the kind of thing that I think there's so much potential there with Star Trek.
Yeah. Right. Who would have thought that an animated Star Trek would be among the best series on Star Trek series on TV? It's so I'm laughing my ass off every damn episode, and they just keep getting better and better.
They found their voice, right? They found the way. They know what's funny about Star Trek.
Yep.
Like you watch an episode, they totally get it. They totally get what is what you can lampoon and critique about Star Trek and what is funny about it.
And they are fans. They know it. They at a deep level.
Yeah.
They're making references that go even over our heads. Like, what was that? Holy crap. Amazing.
Right. Anyway,
all right.
More Star Trek, but do it well. I'm down with a Star Trek Legacy. I love the ship, the new Enterprise G.
Oh, it's a great ship.
Beautiful.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. And before we end the episode, I just want to say I really liked the captain of that ship. Shaw was cool.
I was sad when he bit the dust.
Good character arc.
He had a
fantastic
arc. He was
a
jerk when he came on. Then you understood why he was a jerk and why he was mad at those. It was all perfect.
And his relationship with 7 of 9 ended beautifully with his recorded.
It did.
Oh,
that was great.
Excellent.
It was great right at the very end to get through in a little more sentiment. It was great.
Hope they time travel and resurrect him.
Hey, if you enjoy Star Trek or other science fiction universes, you should join us. You should go to Alpha Quadrant and the number 6.com where you can see everything about our show. This is a podcast as well as a YouTube show. So if you want to listen to it instead of watch it, we make that possible for you. And also, if you want to help us keep the show going, you can become a patron. Go to patreon.com/Alpha Quadrant and the number 6, and we'll see you next week.
Stardate.
Stardate 2.793. They made that all up.
Yeah, of course they did.
So there is
what
no.
Do you mean?
No,
it doesn't mean anything.
No, I mean it's not coherent to itself.
Okay.
Right, not self-consistent.
Stardates
That's
don't.
fine.
Yeah.
Did anybody bother to retcon it and make it work?
I don't know.
Not worth it.
All right, next episode.
All right, which one are we gonna do?
All right.
Let's do
the Ark.
The Ark. I want to complain.
Oh boy.
I'm sure a lot of you have not seen this show, and that's probably a good thing. But The Ark, you will hear what we think about this complete flaming piece of shit show. Oh my God, the worst.
Hey, spoilers.
Sorry. Let's catch up a little bit on what they're saying here in the chat.
I've been reading it the whole time.
All right.
Yes, The Ark was horrible.
Very bad. Okay, I'm ready. You guys ready?
Stand by. Hold on. Put it closer in front of you. Okay. No, like to your left. Yeah.
Here?
Yeah, right there.
Right near the mic, you mean?
Yeah.
Ready?
So there's no time delay.
I got to see it, though.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay, we ready?
Ready.
Good?
Stand by. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, this is Steve.
This is Bob.
This is Jay.
We are Alpha Quadrant 6, a science fiction review show, and on this episode, we are going to review the sci-fi original series, The Ark. And this is a show that we wanted to review because we felt like we just needed an episode where we just complained relentlessly about a horrible show.
Terrible.
For the whole time. Because there really is very little redeeming about this series.
Let me tell you what I told Bob on the phone this afternoon. In every way you could measure a show, this show fails.
It pretty much
the writing, the acting, the sets, the color palette, the lighting, the everything.
The characters.
And every
The computer on the wrist.
everything that the actors tried to convey was ham hockey to the 9th degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they're trying to, like when a character is trying to be squirrely and be like, oh, am I a good guy or am I a bad guy? They literally are directing the actors to do crazy things with their eyes.
It's Murder, She Wrote level.
It is. Oh God! It's a soap opera. It's a goddamn soap opera. It's terrible.
Now, Dean Devlin and Jonathan Glassner, these guys are responsible for Stargate the movie and Stargate SG-1, the series that I loved.
And then they
It's
got
one of
into
my-
a car accident and
it's
got
one of my-
concussions and wrote this show.
I mean, Stargate SG-1 is a wonderful, wonderful series. I'm going to watch it for a third time at some point. It's fantastic. I can't understand how they are responsible for this. What happened?
I would rather
What
watch.
is going on?
I would rather watch Space 1999 backwards than watch
Wow,
this show.
that's saying something.
This show was so bad. After watching the first episode, and I'm alone. You know what I mean? I'm all alone. I'm not sitting in a room with other people being able to talk about the experience. I'm literally going, oh my God. It's so bad. I can't believe it. Like it was so bad.
Let's get to some details. So let's start with the science. Because this is the thing that slaps you in the face. I mean, I like the overall premise. There's an Ark ship, the first of many Ark ships.
100 years in the future.
Yeah, sometime in the future. Did they make it specifically say 100
Yeah, about
years?
100.
They shouldn't have done that. They should have left it more
I
open-ended. 100 years in the future, we're fleeing Earth because we destroyed the environment. We have to go to a new planet. Okay, that's a bit of a shaky premise, because no matter how much we destroy the Earth, it's still going to be far better than any planet we could get to in our neighborhood of the galaxy.
Exactly.
But anyway, put that aside. Okay, we'll give them that premise. The ship is a sublight ship, so it's taking years to get to Proxima Centauri, although they said, 5 years? And Proxima Centauri is 4 light years away. So they're booking.
I think they were saying four.
No, I thought it was 5. So
they're
I calculated
almost-
it out. They're
they're-
averaging 80% of the speed.
Oh, yeah, they're like ultra relativistic.
Okay.
Well, whatever.
For sure.
That's
Okay,
not happening in 100 years, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah, so they have
Well,
I think they
that's a
have,
gimme.
they
That's
have,
a gimme, and that's fine.
They have
That's
fusion
fine.
engines. They have some kind
They
of...
don't specify
They don't specify.
really.
There's some kind of nuclear engines.
But the
fission
big
fusion.
mistake that they made, right?
The big mistake, there's 100 of
But
them.
the first one, the
Yeah.
first one that you encounter is that. So what happens is they have all these. They have the ship is a rotating ship, so they have all these cryogenic pods that people are in it's suspended animation in, which I hate.
Yeah.
And they took all the adults and moved them into one area, and they took all the teenagers and moved them into another area. So when the ship got damaged, all the adults got killed.
Every single senior officer on the ship, was in the same pod. They all got killed with one accident. So it's and they give no reason for it. It was just stupidity.
Yeah.
It's like, here, the whole world got together and planned this arc and invested, whatever resources we have left in this project. And no one thought to say, we should probably spread out the senior officers into different locations. And again, if there's something contrived like that on a show, you could sort of give it one sort of contrivance like that. But this is the whole show.
Yeah, it is.
And right out of the gate, they hit you with that, and you're thinking, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, whatever. But then it just keeps happening and happening.
Could I describe my favorite?
Go ahead.
Grew up. I mean, apparently they've got no science advisor. They're traveling. They're traveling from Earth, from the sun area, our solar system, to the closest solar system, right? The closest star.
Closest star to the Earth.
Proxima Centauri, the closest one. And they're like, 3/4 of the way there, and they need fuel. Look, there's a binary yellow star system over.
No, there isn't.
Let's go to the planet that's in orbit. Wait a second. There's a G. I looked up a yellow binary. That's like a G star, kind of like Earth, the same like mass of the Earth. That somehow we missed. So we missed a star between us and the closest star. So we missed that.
They're making up astronomical situations.
That's at the level. I know it's astronomy, and how many people know that Proxima Centauri? I don't care.
It's in the name.
It's like It's like flying through the solar system and finding a new planet that we haven't discovered.
Yeah.
That's almost at the level we're talking about. That is pathetically egregious.
It's worse than not having a science advisor. It's scientifically illiterate. It's there's nobody involved with that show who has the slightest clue about astronomy or space travel or the structure of the universe. It's so far worse than that, Bob, though. It's so much worse than that. So first of all,
I got more examples.
We have no idea. At no point are you oriented to what's happening. They're treating the engines as if when the engines are off, the ship stops going.
Right.
It's like a boat.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay if you're making a warp bubble. I get that. You make a warp bubble and you travel, and the warp bubble goes down and you stop. Okay, like the Enterprise. I get that. But that's not what's happening. They have engines that are accelerating the ship, but they're treating it as like a car. You take your foot off the accelerator and you come to a stop, and you can just turn around and go in different directions. It's like it took you years to get up to the speed that you were going. Or whatever, we don't even know. I mean, again, assuming they're traveling as fast as they're traveling, they must have been accelerating the whole time to maintain
They don't go into that level of detail.
I know they don't. Then they should have been turned around by this point, and they should be decelerating. They need to match the speed, the relative vector of Proxima Centauri, if that's where they're going. Forget about orbital mechanics. That's like so many layers away from where they are. They're just treating as if they could just go places. There's no momentum. There's what I mean. There's no. It makes absolutely no sense. But worse than the planet. And you may think, how could something be worse than encountering an unknown solar system on the way to the closest solar system?
Right.
But it's everything, though. Every single thing that they did, they got wrong.
It's incoherent.
So the thing is spinning. The thing is spinning, right? And then something gets wedged in there, and they're not spinning anymore, which means that there's no quote unquote gravity.
Assuming there's no acceleration on the ship, the engines are off. Yeah.
Right. So then everyone starts floating around, and then it starts spinning again. Now, what would have happened, I'm not a physicist, but I know enough about science to know what would have happened if that thing started spinning again with all these objects in there that were just floating around. They wouldn't all of a sudden, they wouldn't go to the exterior part of it like there's real gravity. They would have been swept along the side of that thing. Even a simple thing like that doesn't make any sense.
It's not artificial gravity.
No, it's not artificial gravity. It's momentum.
It's rotation.
Yeah. Here's the best example. They're outside the ship in the space suits, and somebody gets hit by a flying object that breaks off the ship. So here's the guy untethered, moving in this direction. So this guy's like, I'm going to save him. So he gives a burst to his jetpack, and he goes up to grab him. And this is what happens. He grabs him, and then he goes down. Wait a second. Zero G doesn't work that way.
Oh
he would have been, it reminds me of Expanse, and where gravity was actually like a character
in the show.
A character. And the best comparison to this show is all right, how bad is it? This is like such a Saturday morning fluff sci-fi. Compare it to the first season of Expanse. There's no aliens. There's just ships, and it's very local and all that stuff. You cannot make any comparison between this show and The Expanse, which is a real sci-fi show. This is such drivel.
What is it? What would you call this? I don't even want to call this science fiction. It's so bad. It's we got to come up with a word for.
I don't know.
It was
you
such
think
a
about
mess.
that.
Sci-fi soap opera.
Here's one of the things that I thought was the most insulting to me. So it's the comet episode. So again, where are they?
Yeah.
Where are they in relationship to the Oort cloud of Proxima Centauri? And so they run into a comet, right? Out there, wherever in space, because they're in space, whatever that means. And what direction is the comet going in? So they need to get water from the comet as it passes by, right? Again, they should be traveling at about 80% the speed of light at this point. But let's put that aside and say that when they turn their engines off,
and luckily, like they
slow down.
They're always flying their ship by something.
Yeah, right.
Space is so freaking huge.
I know, right? The odds of like coming anywhere near. Then here's the thing: they have to change their course to intercept the comet a little bit. You can't just change your course anyway.
You're not flying in the atmosphere.
Oh
yeah, just like you can't just turn. So they get to the comet. So as they're passing by the comet. Get this: they're passing by the comet. They send their shuttle out to hook a tube up to the comet. To drain off the water, but they're only going to have a few minutes. Now, you would think that the way that would work is they sort of shoot it out here, and then they drain it as it passes by, and then disconnect at the other end. Right?
How else would you do it?
Make basic sense. But I don't know what was happening, but they kind of attached to the comet, and it's taut from the beginning, and it's like straining the whole time until they had to disconnect. What was happening that whole time? It was straining. Are you telling me that was, I mean, that connection was holding the momentum of the ship and this comet and then keeping them from, it makes no physical sense.
Nobody thought about it.
I can't even make sense of it. It's so nonsensical. I can't even wrap my head around it.
It's like Saturday morning cartoon level stuff.
It's cartoon level.
And and the comet had a tail, right?
Yeah, of course, because it was a comet.
But would it have a tail if it wasn't near a sun?
No, not at all.
Right, no. It would not have a tail, and the tail, if it did have a tail, it would be pointing away from
the sun.
Whatever this closest sun was. Maybe it was that binary star system that happened to be there, that we didn't know about. Who knows? It's completely nonsensical.
It's garbage.
It's treating space like this homogeneous place where there's space stuff.
And friction.
And no physics, apparently.
And the thing that really pisses me off about it is because it's clearly directed at kids, because of the way they did it. This is one of those times where someone's watching a TV show where they can learn a little bit about the physics of space and astronomy and stuff like that. Like, this is, to me, it's a microcosm of the dumbing down of people in general.
And the thing is, the premise of the show and the basic, plot of the show lends itself to just reasonably hard science fiction so well.
Right.
Because they could have had actual challenges where they had to deal with, the actual physics, and it wouldn't be hard. Like, the whole thing could have happened, but just in a way that made sense. They could have had it happen in a way that made sense. They could, again, they really needed a scientist there to in the writing and every phase of it to just, allow them to accomplish their plot goals without completely trashing basic science.
But even if they trash science, and even if like the budget was crap and all of that, all right, I could see that. But at least the writing and the acting was good. I've seen almost the entire season.
Yeah.
I don't like anybody, not one person. Some people I have no real feelings for. Some people I actively don't like, but I don't care about anybody. That's a fail.
Bob,
that's a huge fail right there.
The show pisses me off when I watch. I'm actually angry when I'm watching it. That's how bad it is.
I don't care about anybody.
The characters are mostly tropes.
Yep.
Oh, that's the nerdy, geeky girl. Okay. And, and that's the tough guy. And, and this is the brooding commander. Okay. It's like, they're pretty razor thin. And then the villains are like really mustache twisty villains.
God.
I mean,
I think of the characters in Stargate SG-1 that I loved. All right, granted, it was over 7 seasons, but even into the season 1 of Stargate SG-1, I was loving these characters. I mean, this is not happening for this series. I don't know. Are they just writing it in their sleep? I'm not sure how the same people produce the same IPs here.
Right. So it's a good example of how bad science can make a science fiction story bad, and how good science can make a science fiction story good. Because it really does. It makes it more interesting. It makes it obviously more plausible. You're not like pulling your hair out because of the abuse of the science. It allows you to follow along because there's something that makes sense. Like, I can't. Again, I've watched most of the season 2, and sometimes it's hard to follow the plot because you're not anchored to anything in reality.
Right,
you're not anchored to the science. Anything can happen now because they're just ignoring, the basic concepts of space travel.
This show can't possibly be doing good. It can't.
I don't know. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, again,
who knows?
Even if you
man?
say, well, their target audience is children, it's like, okay, it's not an excuse.
It doesn't have one redeeming quality though, like you said. Like at least this, but they don't have anything. So if you didn't enjoy this show, I don't know. we would love it if you went to our website, alphaquadrant and number6.com, to check out our other episodes that we have. And you could also become a patron at at patreon.com/alphaquadrant and the number 6. And guys, we'll see you next week. Yay!
All right, it was fun ripping that apart. Jesus.
Total piece of shit, that show. Good night. Someone was leaving. All right, guys,
See you,
ready for
Les?
this third episode?
Wait a second. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me start this one. Somebody was suggesting we should do a watch party.
Yeah, we would do that.
So for this
But
one,
I
Steve,
I looked on Twitch.
broke
We could
down
actually probably do a
special
watch party for some of the
visual
stuff.
effects
The arc's not on there yet,
special
but
effects and visual effects.
Mhm.
Two different.
Yeah, we'll do it.
components
That would be cool.
to
But
this.
also,
So I wanted
All right,
to
we'll
go
plan
through
something,
that.
everybody.
there's
for
costume
AQ6
design,
watch party.
there's, all of that.
Ian said someone
Set
was
design.
recommending that we do a watch party, which could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right.
For which?
Or any of
For the news.
anything that's sci-fi that's available on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, anything that's on Amazon Prime that's a good sci-fi show. Yeah, John in the chat, definitely check out the first episode. I mean, it's worth seeing how bad it is. It'll sharpen your skills of understanding science and astronomy, because your
Try to
will-
name as many flaws as you can.
Yeah, that
That's a
would be-
good
yeah.
challenge. Yeah.
Move it a little to the left, Jay. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Ready?
Stand by. Stand by.
Ready?
No, we got one more episode. Sorry,
Last episode.
I said goodbye because somebody said they were leaving.
Oh
in the
yeah.
chat. Yep, that was my fault.
All right, go ahead.
All right, here we go. Hi, this is Steve.
This is Bob.
This is Jay.
We are Alpha Quadrant 6, a science fiction review show. On this episode, we're completing our series of the elements of good science fiction. So we've done world building, storytelling, characters, and now we're going to do all of the artistic stuff, the special effects, visual effects, costume design, set design, all of the artistic elements that go into bringing a science fiction show, a world, a franchise, a movie, a TV series to life, of giving a place for the story to inhabit. So what are some of the elements that you guys think are the most important in sort of the artistic element side of sci-fi?
There's lots of ways to categorize this. One way that I like, you've got two different things really with modern sci-fi movies. You got special effects and you've got visual effects. Special effects, those are practical. Those are mechanical. Those are on the camera, on the set, at the day of shooting. So anything that you could imagine there, from costumes, makeup, explosions, atmospherics, anything like that that's filmed on that day, that's brought into play, that's special effects. Visual effects is post-production. It can be digital. It can be, these are, digital, CGI, green screen, compositing, all the stuff that happens in post-production that's added later. Now, you could also join the two. You could do a special effects, and then you could enhance it with the visual effects.
Which is common today.
Which is very, very common, with set extensions and things like that. So those are the two different ways to do it. It's essentially on the set at shoot day, or in post-production.
When you have the LED screen that is the set, what do you call it? That would be special effects.
That would be special effects because it's right there on camera, it's filmed and it's on right there on the set.
I think for the genre of science fiction,
we'll say speculative fiction because I want to give examples from fantasy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it has to do with all of them for sure. That the development of the technology that allows us to have more like computer animation and those types of effects, the two are connected to each other, right? That's pretty basic premise here. That science fiction helps enhance the hardware and software that it takes to pull off, all the special effects that we like to see today. But it's the writing of the science fiction that encourages people to work on the hardware. You know what I mean? So the two go hand in hand, and they've been that way since the beginning.
So, I mean, obviously, science fiction and fantasy takes place usually in a place that doesn't exist, right? So there are species, people that don't exist. There are cultures that don't exist, technology that doesn't exist. And so we need the special effects and visual effects to create those things. Mm-hmm. And it's really challenging, and when you notice it more when they do a bad job. Like I think when you do a really good job, part of the way they've done a good job is that you don't notice it. Because
like a good matte painting for the background, but you don't even know it's not real.
It's not just that you don't technically notice. Obviously, when you see the clunky special effects, it kind of takes you out of it, unless it's campy. You know what I mean? Like you sort of go, I guess, beyond the uncanny valley into it's just completely campy, and then you can kind of enjoy it at that level. But and sometimes some directors raise that to its own style, which I think is fine too. But so there's that notion of like you don't notice the effect, but I'm also talking about like you don't notice that this is something that's not real. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's so believable as a real thing. Like you don't question the clothing that the character is wearing, right? You don't think that's a costume. You know what I mean? If you're thinking that's a great costume, that's a fail.
Yeah, of course.
You have to be thinking that that's what that character would be wearing. It's that it's an actual part of a culture, that and so one of my favorite example of what I think is good visual world building for science fiction is Dune, both the original Dune actually and the more recent remake. In the original Dune, I mean, it was just a feast of costumes and people and
sets.
And, like you believed this was a real place,
Absolutely.
It was inhabited by, it had a history. It was inhabited by people. The clothes that they were wearing made sense to who they were, and it felt real.
Yeah.
And that was critical to your experience of the movie, because you had to feel like you were in a real place, not watching somebody's costumes, And that's one of the hallmarks of cheesy science fiction is the cheesy costumes that are costumes.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that in these genres, there is something very important about the special effects, right? Because again, that's what's putting us into the setting.
Yeah.
That's what's selling the setting to us, like you were saying, Steve, and it's critical. Now, there is a downside to this, of course, which we've all complained about many, many times. I'm sure most people listening to this show have examples where the movie gets overtaken by the special effects and the props and all that.
Star Trek the motion pictures.
Yes, it becomes a spectacle. And without a story, and again, we say it all the time, but it's so important, and we have to keep repeating it, that good writing is the storytelling. Mm-hmm. With good storytelling, then, you feel free to spend millions of dollars, making the world come alive, but you got to start with that story and those characters.
You can't have one without the other. So actually, you could have good writing. Writing and acting, if that's good, then you'll
forgive.
You'll forgive a lot. Absolutely. So the other way around, no.
Hey, I've watched movies that took place in one room. Mm-hmm. In one room, it doesn't matter. No, everything else is irrelevant. It really is irrelevant. Now, if it's all done well, I'll give you a perfect example of a movie that...
I won't say it's irrelevant. It's not necessary. It depends on what story you're telling. If some stories require
you're right. You're totally
effects.
Right. But
you can't tell that story without getting the visual effects correct.
But giving an example of a movie that used special effects to the best way possible, like is well, first of all, oh my God, like I don't want to just throw Star Wars out there again because I say it all the time, but it's a good example because we're going back to a movie that pioneered special effects. Mm-hmm. They literally created a special effects department that didn't exist. Right?
For A New Hope.
For A New Hope.
That's the birth of ILM, Industrial Light and Magic.
Yeah.
That was born for that movie.
But one of the reasons why that movie hit so goddamn hard was because of the special effects.
And not only just because it had good special effects, it created a vibe.
Yeah.
Right? It created a feeling, and it was not just the costumes and the sets. It's also the sound effects. Right? We can't not talk about that. There's iconics, like you hear a TIE fighter screaming through space, even though there's no noise in space. Or you hear the sound of a lightsaber going on, or you hear the sound of an Imperial blaster, and that sound is iconic.
Yeah.
And it becomes part of the soundscape of Star Wars, which you add to the visual, like the buildings, just the way the buildings look and the clothes that people wear, and the level of the technology.
It's a perfect storm.
Yeah, the level of the technology is also a character in the world building, and that's all the visual effects.
That's a good point, Steve. If effects done right, if you can visualize them in your head after you've seen it, and you could also hear them, right? Like I can tell you what Thor's hammer sounds like. You know, they made it up in the movie, and I have it in my head now.
And you could see a new iteration of it. Like if we saw like an opening scene of Andor, and we know that's a Star Wars show because it's got all the same visual and auditory vibe. There are other movies which do that incredibly well as well. Again, I already mentioned Dune, Blade Runner. Think about the vibe of Blade Runner.
Oh yeah,
right. It's integral to the plot, right? That world,
cyberpunk,
feels and looks a certain way, right? And you have to. It's part of it, and then it wouldn't work if it looked different, right? If it was not the dark, rainy
neon and
world that it was.
Film noir,
it wouldn't be the same story. You know, it's
so Jurassic Park,
essential to the storytelling.
You're right. It is essential to the storytelling. Jurassic Park is another landmark film. You couldn't make that film without the special effects, right? So the special effects are an actual character in the movie, right?
They're literally characters, And Jay, there would be no Jar Jar without special effects.
Well,
see, now you had to go ruin the whole vibe, Steve. No, but so a fun thing to do is to try to think of films where without the special effects, the film couldn't exist.
Yeah.
Right? It's a cool exercise to do because the special effects are at the point now where some stories can't be told without it. And I feel I'm kind of torn because I'm so focused on character and story. I want that to be the number one thing. But I love when they get it all right.
When it's all the pieces.
You can't beat it. You can't. I mean, obviously, that's the apex.
I got to bring up an example of a fantasy movie where actually a franchise that I thought hit it out of the park.
Lord of the Rings.
Weta, the Weta workshops.
So hey, we made a video about Weta.
We did. You can check out our video about Weta. But so here's the example of where this kind of artistic angle tells a story unto itself. You remember Minas Morgul. So Minas Morgul was a keep. The humans. It was a defensive keep of the humans that fell to the forces of Mordor, and now it's occupied by the host of Mordor, the bad guys. So Weta had to create this location. And there was such attention to detail that just the physical space itself tells the history of the place. You remember this?
Yeah.
Like the lamps were made out of the helmets of human soldiers that had fell in Minas Morgul. That's the level of detail that you get to. Like this was a place that has a history, and the little details are telling that story, on one layer, while the actors are playing out another story at another layer, and that makes a difference when that level of thought is put into the set design. It absolutely matters.
Well, the world
again the whole. Being sucked into that world.
Right. Well, so special effects and visual effects, it enhances the storytelling. It can, if done well. Now we have to be fair. Most movies don't have the budget to do things on this level. Maybe with spaces like the Volume, where they could use an LED studio.
Yeah, but even low budget, Jay, because it's as I say, it's the sound effects, right? It's the music, it's the costumes. Even if it's not fantastical costumes, they still make the character. It is little details of the location and the set, even if it's not that fantastical. It absolutely makes a difference. It is the way the film is shot, the lighting, all of those things, all of those elements, even just the lighting. You're a lighting guy. You know how important that could be. That completely sets the mood. Yeah. Think about a movie and there's other things, and special effects can be really low budget. Think about the movie 300.
Yeah.
300.
300.
Right? Think about what that movie accomplished. It had a certain look to it.
They nailed that. They had a vibe in that movie.
There was an
super
absolute
strong.
Lots of
vibe.
abs too.
And they innovated that whole fast motion, then using slow motion to emphasize something that happens, and then going back into fast to normal speed again.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't seen
Right,
that in a while.
that effect was so powerful.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And what is that? That's just slowing down the film a little bit. That was a low budget effect.
Almost like bullet
but
time.
kind of like Bullet Time. The Matrix is another example of a movie that created.
God.
I mean, it created such a vibe. It affected our culture for a generation. It affected fashion.
Yeah.
It affected technology and movies. That that movie had a massive impact on our culture because of the vibe it created for that story. And think about it. The setting for that story, for most of it, was 1999.
Yeah.
It was contemporary 1999, but it didn't matter. And obviously there was parts of it that took place in the real timeline of the show, but which also had a completely separate vibe. Right, there was almost like it was two worlds. Amazing, just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, so I know that you're all about the characters in this story, but we can't give this element short shrift. It is absolutely critical. When done well, it is culture changing.
Yeah,
in a way that just other things cannot be.
And sometimes when the acting's not there, the writing's not there, sometimes you sit back and the eye candy's so beautiful. Sometimes, all right, it was beautiful. It sucked, but it was still nice to look at.
Talking about Prometheus.
I'll give you
my
the
God.
perfect example. The new Avatar movie, Way of Water.
Yeah.
It was
that's a good example.
It was the absolute most gorgeous movie I've ever seen. It was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous.
But
it wasn't enough, though.
We did a review on it, but in brief, but again, the special effects didn't save the movie, right? Like they go hand in hand.
It can't save the movie. But it could make a movie, though.
Imagine if the story and the writing for that movie was as good as the special effects.
Let me throw out a few.
It would be like we'd be talking about it nonstop.
Let me throw out just a couple of examples. I just want you to imagine Darth Vader without his costume.
Forget it.
Right? I mean, if that costume didn't work, right? Imagine Darth Vader without the Imperial Death March. Right? Imagine him without James Earl Jones's voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, you don't have to imagine it because that was shot. with
you could see it.
You could see the scenes with the actor's voice.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cringeworthy. It's like it's not Vader. Vader is not just the physical acting. It's the costume. It's his theme music.
Yeah.
It's the sound effect of the breathing of the mask.
This is why, as angry as I can get at George Lucas, I got to give it to him.
He made Darth Vader.
Because he visualized that entire thing. He knew I need to get a better actor to do the voice. I can't have that be Darth Vader's voice.
Just the breathing, Jay.
Yeah.
Is iconic. That one little sound effect is now absolutely iconic.
It's hardwired in our head.
If you hear that, you know instantly what that's referring to.
And the power of those visuals and those sounds, like I guarantee you that 1,000 years from now, Darth Vader will still exist. He has to.
I mean, it's one of the most iconic villains of all time.
That's like Robin Hood. We still make movies about Robin Hood. That's whatever that is. 1,000-year-old legend. Just some stories are iconic. Some characters are iconic. They capture our imagination, and all of this supporting visual and special effects and art design and costume and sound and all those things that work together to work on our senses at all these different levels is its own layer of storytelling. And it cannot be underestimated. Just because you can tell a compelling story with just one person in a bleak room, if the acting and the story is fantastic, it's absolutely compelling. You're right, but you can't tell every story that way. And there are some stories where you need these other elements. And when you do leverage those other elements, you could make something iconic in a way that you just can't without it.
Let me bring up probably the most recent example of a complete win for props, special effects. Grogu. All right, so let's pretend that we're in the writer's room way back in the beginning, when Dave Filoni and and Favreau were telling a group of people, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to have another Yoda puppet. It's going to be a baby.
Yoda.
It's a baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
It's
We called
going to
him
be
Baby Yoda until we knew his name was Grogu.
It's going to be a practical prop.
Practical, you're nuts, man. It's not going to move convincingly.
And it's going to be one of the most important elements of this series.
It's going to be a cultural
phenomenon. The fact
phenomenon.
that they pulled that off. If you told me that idea the day before I watched the show, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a complete train
Jar
wreck.
Jar
I would have
too.
said, make it CG. I would have been in that meeting. Make it CG.
How,
Come on,
how
give me a break.
did they make it work? That is the miracle.
Because he's adorable.
But that's the miracle of good writing, right? Again, you can't pull that thing off without the writing. But now that you've seen the puppet and now that we've lived it and worn that, it totally works. Because right, it's
and it's not just the adorable face and the way he emotes. The movement as well when he's walking and doing other things is they pull it off. They pull it off in such a way that he doesn't move the way a CG character would have moved. But I think he's much more endearing as he is as a real practical.
Yeah, you're right, man.
Practical.
Let me give you a counterexample.
Special effect.
I brought up Jar Jar before.
Yeah.
I want you to imagine that first movie, movie 1, with Jar Jar.
Yeah.
And all you do
It hurts.
is redub the voice. Not only of him, but of the whole species. They just sound different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you could almost rescue that whole thing.
I would.
If
I'd
all
like
you
to see
did,
it.
if all you did was redub that voice, that one artistic choice of what to have him sound like completely tanked that first movie.
It literally could have cost Lucas $1 billion worth of
totally.
lack of sales.
That one choice.
And that poor actor was vilified.
Just the guy who did the voice.
Death threats.
Well, so was the
guy who
kid
did
that
the voice.
played Anakin.
Yeah.
That was some bad directing choices with Anakin as well.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you get when a director doesn't have anybody there watching their back.
Just all yes men at that point.
Yeah, forget it. You can't do it. All right. So anyway, don't
get me
started. We clearly could. This conversation is one that doesn't
endless,
end.
Yeah.
You know, I read a literally a doctorate level paper on this topic, and it was so complicated and so in the weeds.
Yeah, we're talking as people who appreciate.
Yeah, we're
not
not
as
even
the experts who we couldn't create.
No,
any of this
forget
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Forget it. I mean, there is literature out there about this topic that would blow your mind and how detailed. There's a whole order of magnitude more complication here that we can't even begin to approach.
Right.
Because, it really is amazing.
It's a science unto itself.
It's
an art and a science, absolutely. It's very sophisticated because, of course, it is, because it's been going on for thousands of years, and there's now multi-billion-dollar industries, working with this: video games, movies, TV, literature, comic books. Anyway, so of course it is. Of course, it's rise to this level, and we're spoiled as F because we have consumed the best of the best, and we want it, and that's all we want, and we get very cranky when our science fiction is not perfect.
Oh, if it doesn't meet our expectations, we make shows about it right here.
And complain about it.
And now for the next 5, 10, 15 years, I don't know, we're going to see what happens with generative AI being able to create these movies with almost no budget. What's going to happen? Don't get me started on that.
What are we going to be reviewing?
But imagine when it costs very little to come out with a movie.
I predict that we will
input.
review a show that largely used AI generated imagery at one point. That it's going to happen that soon. It's not going to be long. It's not going to be long.
I predict that we'll be replaced by AIs to review that movie.
Maybe. That'd be great. I'd rather stay home and watch science fiction anyway. Guys, if you enjoy the show, go to alphaquadrant6.com where you can find all of our past episodes, and you can hear the show as a podcast. And we have a Patreon if you're interested, and we'll see you next week.
All right, so
episodes.
Babylon 5 animated movie.
Is that coming out for real?
Yeah. JMS.
Is it the same story, or is it?
I don't know. That's all I know. And new animated Babylon 5 movie.
Just a movie, not a series?
That's all I heard. It looks like it's going to be a movie.
All right, well, I'm down
but
for
hey,
that.
man, I'm looking forward to it.
A Harry Potter TV series. Well, we'll see what happens. Harry Potter 2, we could have mentioned that. I mean, just the whole visual vibe.
Oh my God.
It's critical, Jay. It's absolutely
I'm not saying, Steve, believe me, it's got to be there. It has to be there.
Yeah.
But the writing and the character, don't bother spending the $1 billion.
Yeah, they have to be there too. Yeah, it doesn't replace those things.
No.
That's the.
If you got to have one, you got to go with the acting and the writing.
Yeah, that's two, but yeah.
Yeah, but we're not.
Well,
look,
acting, writing,
listen,
special visual effects.
Steve said it. Once you've seen it, like once you've seen Star Wars, you that's now the bar. That's where the bar is. Like you can't go back on that. You can't.
Do you guys remember Uncle Bob telling us about it?
Yes.
In like 75, 76?
Remember what he said? He said, the first time we heard about Star Wars from our uncle, he said, there's a movie coming out that's going to make Star Trek look like Lost in Space. And
that's cool. Yeah, no, he was right.
That's not an unreasonable observation.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say that now.
Well, but making Star Trek the original series.
When we saw Star Wars for the first time,
it was an order of magnitude.
It was a life-changing event.
Blew us away.
We saw it in the theater. We got to actually experience that as the right age in the goddamn theater.
And we sat through it again twice.
We didn't get out of our seats.
Didn't even get out of our seats.
We just said, nope, we're not leaving the theater. We stayed and watched it again.
And I remember getting excited because he built it up because he lived in L.A., so the scuttlebutt about the movie and everything that was really big out there. So he told us, we're like, whoa, I didn't hear about that.
It left such an impact on me. It changed my life. It really did. I mean, I think we're sci-fi fans today in part because of that movie.
I mean, we were already sci-fi fans because of Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah.
And even like Forbidden Planet. I mean, we were into it.
Yeah, but Star Wars.
This was jet fuel to our sci-fi.
Star Wars
fandom.
changed the goddamn world, though. Because
it was the movie. A TV show was one thing, but back then, I mean,
it put science fiction on the map.
Totally.
Like now,
it made science fiction real for Hollywood.
Yes.
It really did. It actually did. It made sci-fi like, oh, we could make money off of this shit. All right.
We're going to eat this shit up. Let's make more.
Completely changed the calculus in Hollywood. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
It was fun hanging out with you. We will be back in a few weeks.
We'll see you next time. Yeah, a few weeks. We'll do 3 more.
Yep. And thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Ian. Night, bro.
Good night, brother. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.